Hello everyone, this is Menz here. I'm going to be previewing an upcoming Tier 8 German premium light tank, the Aufklärungspanzer V here. Now, this used to be in the game at a lower tier before they reworked the German light tank line, and then they pulled this out. It used to be referred to as over the Aufklärungspanzer IV because it's a really difficult name to pronounce. I'm going to be calling it the AFK Panther instead, but it used to be referred to as the AFK Panther, the Awful Panther, because it is a light tank design based off of the Panther chassis. So more or less you do have a very large light tank for what you typically see from German lights. Now I'm going to be comparing the Aufklärungspanzer IV, or as I'm going to refer to it as the AFK Panther. You could also call it the Reconnaissance Tank 5, since that is what it translates to. But I'm going to be comparing it to not only the HWK-12, but also two other Tier 8 premium light tanks. Now, one thing of note before I go into comparing this, these aren't finalized stats, but it's also kind of rumored that the AFK Panther here is going to be potentially a personal reward tank. Wargaming is looking to put a kind of Season 2, not replacing the current personal missions that you can claim, say like the T-28 HT Concept, Object 260. They're looking to put kind of a Season 2 in with a new series of rewards and also missions to complete. This is potentially a reward from that. However, it could also be sold, given that the M4190 isn't exactly in the tech tree. This could potentially be put straight into the game, but really, who really knows except for Wargaming what's going to come about for this tank. However, it is going to make an appearance sometime, I would say within 2018, whether it's personal missions or sold as a premium tank. Now, looking at the tank here, 165 damage per shot, which a little bit better than the T92, but much less than the HWK and also the M41. Penetration though, best out of Tier 8 lights, 221 millimeters of pen. And once you start looking at the premium shell, you notice it does not have any premium rounds. It has a high explosive shell instead of, say, like a heat round or a better penetrating APCR round. So you have 221 millimeter pen for your standard round, however no premium shells. If you look at the HWK, 250, so it does lose out on not having a premium round. That's another indication this tank potentially might be like a personal reward tank, since granted, premium round doesn't mean it's not gonna be sold, but it potentially could just be. That's the first marker. I'm gonna mention a couple more why it's a personal reward instead of being sold, because it does have a funky ammunition setup. Now, rate of fire lower than the T92. However, looking at the important stat, DPM, the M4190 beats it out by a little bit, by 169. It does have better DPM, slightly over the T92 and definitely over the HWK-12. Gun depression, negative 10 degrees, great there. Only the M4190 is worse. Turret traverse is low, but comparable to the not AMX, HWK-12. However, it is lower than, say, the T92, M41. So overall, you have very good base penetration for the AFK Panther here. 221 for a Tier 8 light is excellent. You don't need premium rounds because you don't have any. Damage per shot, a little bit low, but overall the DPM sitting at 2100 is pretty good for a Tier 8 light. It's one of, basically the better DPMs as far as Tier 8 lights go. Your overall aiming time, 1.44, best out of these four lights. 0.29 accuracy is excellent as well. As far as like your on the move accuracy and all that, nothing holding that back. As far as, say, there's like a ton of turret bloom and stuff, it's actually pretty darn good, and you're not going to have any problems with hitting things while moving around. So your overall accuracy is great, good on the move accuracy, excellent gun depression at negative 10, and the turret's very small, and you actually have pretty good pen, a little bit lack of damage per shot, but really the gun on this is pretty darn good for a Tier 8 light. outside of, say, if you're comparing it for tier 8 lights, especially premiums as far as dealing damage, the M41 does edge it out. However, this will be able to hit a lot more shots, and you're not really going to miss unless, you know, it's kind of on you if you miss with this. With 0.29 accuracy, fast aim time, good on the move accuracy, to where basically you're buying this light, it's going to dish damage out pretty easily, albeit, you know, 165 damage per shot instead of 240 like on the M41 and the HWK. Moving down to survivability, 1100 HP, not bad there. Pretty good for a tier 8 light, same as the HWK and the M41. As far as armor goes, that's where, you know, you do have a little bit of armor on this, being a Panther chassis. 85 millimeters on the front, turret 50 isn't exactly great, but you will bounce some like tier 6 shots. Tier 7 most likely won't bounce you unless it hits like on a funky angle, like on the upper glacis. But more or less, you do have a little bit of armor going for this, unlike other tier 8 lights where most, if not all, have pretty poor armor. Only really, you can make a case like the WZ132 might have comparable armor maybe on the turret, but the, you know, the AFK Panther here definitely has the best armor, albeit doesn't matter much for a tier 8 light. Now the weight limit here. As far as mobility and weight and stuff goes, I'm going to try to pronounce it here again, the Aufklärungspanzer V, 41 tons, so you're going to be able to ram the hell out of things in this. Even if they're higher tier light tanks, you're pretty much going to weigh more than them, so you can ram them to your heart's content. Your engine power, 1200 horsepower. Specific power is a little bit low, 28 specific power. However, it is better than the M4190, so you are more mobile than that. Granted, that's pretty slow for a light tank, but it's still very, you know, it's very mobile in the grand scheme of things. Both tanks, you're a little bit lacking compared to, say, the HWK T92. However, that specific power is a little bit low for a light, but still overall it's a very good mobility score for the Aufklärungspanzer IV or AFK Panther. Traverse speed, you know, while it's not as good as, say, a T92 or a M41, it's decent. The HWK does turn a little slow too, so it's just something to keep in mind that as far as turning as fast as other lights, it is going to feel a little sluggish. Top speed's decent too at 60, but, you know, it does get beaten out by other tanks. So really the mobility, it's fast, not as fast as some other tier 8 lights, but it's not the slowest, but it can ram the hell out of light tanks, regardless if they're higher tier or lower tier than you, since you're heavier than, as far as I know, every other light tank higher than this is also a little bit less as far as weight goes. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure 41 tons is the heaviest as far as lights go at the higher tiers too. As far as concealment, pretty bad here. This is where, you know, people used to call it the awful Panther because it did have a pretty good gun back when it was lower tier. You know, it could ram things. However, as far as a light tank goes, it has no camouflage when it comes to concealment and stuff like that, to where, you know, 9.63 as a base stat is basically half of, you know, some other tier 8 lights, say like the T92, and it's pretty terrible when it comes to concealment. So unlike other lights, you do you know, you do have to be a little careful because you do get spotted easily, especially since 400 meters of view range is good, but it's not exactly like a huge advantage over, say, like even some non light tanks around your tier. So you are going to be spotted pretty easily in this thing, even though you gain the light tank bonus, so you keep it while moving and you're not shooting. You know, 9.63 for a base value is pretty low for a light tank. It's more or less, you know, on a medium level. So, you know, looking at the tank as a whole, it's pretty mobile. You know, it's not as fast as some other lights, but it's still pretty fast. It can ram the hell out of things. It's got, you know, decent amount of armor. The gun on it's, you know, it doesn't have a premium round, but it does have good penetration, good DPM, you know, nothing to worry about there. Basically, you have almost the polar opposite to the HWK when it comes to the tank. You have HWK is this little petite tank, no armor, but a hard-hitting gun at 240 damage per shot, and a little bit low DPM on it, to where you have the AFK Panther here with low damage per shot, high pen, high accuracy, you know, it's a gigantic tank with some armor and weight behind it, and the DPM's much better. So it's kind of polar opposites between the two, where that's where it might not end up being a premium tank. Because even going to preview this tank again, most people know what it looks like since it's been in the game before. They bumped it up to tier 8, so it could potentially be, you know, part of a personal mission reward, maybe even clan wars, or tied to, they're talking about specifically potentially letting people buy stuff for bonds through like ranked battles and, you know, accruing them over time in the game, adding in kind of a bond shop to where you can buy things. But another reason it might not be, you know, specifically sold as a premium tank, albeit, you know, it's really a toss-up whether or not you believe that, is the crew. It has 5 crew members here, which, looking at other crews for German light tanks here, you'll notice that the VK2801 has a 5-person crew. Every other crew, 4, 3, 3, 4, and then 3. There's no other 5-person crew as far as like tier 8, 9, or 10 light tanks in the German line. So, you know, it doesn't really make sense for it to be like a sold tier 8 premium tank, because it's not a really good crew trainer. You're going to have to find, you know, if you don't have a VK2801, you're going to have to find 2 other crew members to plop in here and train up. And it also plays differently, you know, being large compared to the other German lights around it. So it doesn't really fit into the line. It does perform very well. You know, going through that comparison, it does stack up well against other tier 8 light tanks. And since it does have a pretty good gun on it, not gum, and no premium rounds, it's going to make a lot of credits. You're not going to be able to spot in this, but it is going to be a pretty fun tank to play because you can ram the hell out of other lights, and you can definitely scoot around at, you know, a little bit outside of the maximum spotting range because you don't have camo, and still hit things given the excellent on-the-move accuracy, penetration, and also, you know, the overall 0.29 accuracy for the base value. Like, I didn't put any equipment, no crew skills, so they will get better. But really, it's kind of a quirky but fun tank. Who knows when it will be released, but honestly, it probably will be one of the more fun tier 8 lights to play, especially when it comes to premiums, to where we already have like the M4190, that's kind of the damage dealer, a little bit slower than say you have the T92 light that kind of shifts towards being a more of a pure scout with kind of a DPM but low damage per shot and pen gun. And then you have this thing, you know, it's completely different from both of them. So it is going to be a unique and fun tier 8 premium light tank. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and you're looking forward to this tank now. Hopefully, you know, it comes out sooner or later here. I do think it's going to come out sometime, you know, say by the end of 2018, because by then we should see the changes to personal missions. And if it's not coming with that, you know, they did state the potential for the buying tanks with bonds, you know, even outside of clan wars, as far as like ranked battles, and gets people accruing them from random battles too. You know, if they don't happen for that, or this tank doesn't happen for that, you know, you might see it in the premium shop. But anyway, thanks again for watching this video. You know, have a very nice day, and hope I'll see you around sometime soon in another one. See you around.